Okay, hey Jay, how are you? It's so great to have
Wonderful.
you
How are you
here.
doing?
Really, really
Thank you.
well. I'm so excited to have this strategy session with you. So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you and your business?
Name is Dr. Jay LaGuardia, and the business I have, that the business that we're referring to today is it's Power, Passion, Prosperity, Life, and so it is online. Well, it's a consulting business. I've been doing consulting for about 15 years, and so I added a podcast to expand the brand, so I can share the message with a larger audience.
Nice.
And so we really focus on fitness, family, and finance, or might relate to emotional health, physical health, um, relationships, and business. And so we
Okay.
work primarily with entrepreneurs, and these are small business owners
Hmm.
whose life's out of balance, who know that there's more. They want more out of life, but they don't know how to really achieve it. And either maybe they're doing well in business, but their health is struggling, or their relationships at home are not good, or any of those combinations.
Right.
So we work specifically on helping formulate the strategies, the mindset, to crush it at home, crush their health, and crush their business.
I love it. So needed. So, specifically, you work with men?
It's probably 60-40 men to
Okay.
females.
Okay.
Yeah.
A bit of a mix there. Awesome. I love this space and what you do. And I love that you've started a podcast so more people can hear about all the amazing things that you do. So tell me, what would you most like to get out of our strategy session today that's going to help you move forwards in this business?
You and I had a conversation in Puerto Rico, and you asked some really poignant questions that I feel that sometimes our messaging gets distorted, specifically because we focus on fitness and family and business. It's like, are you a business coach? Are you a lifestyle coach? Are
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think there's confusion there, and then that leads to confusion of what a viewer, a listener, someone engaging in our content should do.
Right.
And I really feel that this part, once we get this dialed in, will really set us off next year. We've got some really cool stuff that we're working on, and if we can get this dialed in, I think this is going to springboard us to new heights.
Awesome. So right now you're feeling that perhaps it's a little bit broad. People don't really know exactly what it is you stand for or what to go to you for specifically. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And, the other thing too is, my social media engagements, my online engagements, I definitely get more of a guy following,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
um, and so I'm wondering, should I target? Should I niche down
Mhm.
to more males? And my partner's like, no, because we're family, fitness, and business, we should include all. And I could see that, but on the other hand, the statistics don't lie,
Yeah.
is that men follow more than women do. So I'm a little confused, not confused, hesitant on which way to move that ball.
Sure. So, who do you really love working with most of all?
I really love working with entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs.
Small business people, because businesses follow people. As people grow, their businesses grow. So like, I had a new client reach out to me yesterday, and it always comes down to, we got to change the 6 inches between his ears before we help him change his business.
Hmm.
And so he's his life is way out of balance. He's made some poor decisions, and now he's stuck in lack and scarcity, and that's just compounding. So a lot of people who come to me come to that. So they're looking for strategies, of course, which we can help them with. But we have to start there first before we
Absolutely.
put anything in play. Because if they're the same person taking new strategies, they're not going to get any different results.
Absolutely. 80% of our results is down to the mindset and the approach that we take with it.
For sure.
100%. So, I've got a lot of questions I want to ask you based on what you've just said. But I want to start with, what was the driving force for you to start this business? What was it that called you towards this work?
When I was in practice, I had 10 clinics, and really one of the most premier clinics in the country, if not the world. So people would reach out to me asking for help. How did you do that? Can you teach me? Can you show me? And I started to do that. Well, that became a lot of work and a lot of time. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this, my knowledge and my time is worth a lot of value. So
Right.
I turned it into a consulting business, and it was primarily for chiros to start with, but now it's expanded to any kind of small business owner. And so I did that for 10 years, and honestly, it was one day I was meditating, and I had this feeling, this like, man, I'm just playing way too small here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have to work if I don't want to. I'm doing this out of passion, out of a labor to serve and to lead, where
Yeah.
I know there's a real void in leadership. And so I started this as a real desire to help make a difference in a much, much bigger way
Mm-hmm.
than working with a client here. At the time I probably had 20 clients, and it was great. I worked 2 days a week taking calls.
Nice.
So, but I really felt, and that's how the brand Power, Passion, Prosperity, because I asked myself, what are the three things that had the biggest impact in my life? Empowering, right? Empowering knowledge, right? Empowering the self, passion, and then that leads to prosperity in every area of life.
Absolutely incredible. It's that whole ripple effect afterwards. So thinking about some of the clients that you've worked with that you really, really loved working with, that got the best results, tell me more about that person. Like if you could just pick the next person that you worked with, what would their situation be? Like, tell me more about them.
So it's, kind of like I mentioned before, they feel stuck. They
Mm-hmm.
feel like their life is stagnant and neutral, or even, regressing. Like they thought they would be further ahead in those three areas than they are right now, or they feel so overwhelmed by all the things that they have to do, they don't even know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
So first helping them sort out what the real issues are,
Yeah.
right? And then putting the helping them clarify their vision, and tying up that to their, specifically their why, and then helping them understand productive behaviors and habits, and then strategizing in those three areas of what they need to do, but really condensing it down. So the net effect is, a year from now, when they look back, they're able to see real tangible results. It may be one area or all three areas, and I'm fortunate enough that, most of my clients have been with me a long time because they get results.
Right. So what specific results do they get typically?
It depends on the individual, but certainly business growth. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yep.
So whether that, sometimes it's a priority of values, creating more freedom. It's not more money; it's more freedom.
Mm.
Maybe it's profits.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Maybe it's creating the exit strategy for their business in 5 years.
Yep.
With a mindset of making sure that they're taking care of their family at the same time, but all wrapped around that they're nurturing self, they're nurturing their headspace, their physical well-being. So if the end result looks like um, joy and happiness, they can look at each area in their life and feel like they're on the right path, and they can see the results.
Incredible. And what do you feel is the biggest difference that enables those results based on the people you've worked with? Like, what is the thing?
Mindset.
Yeah. Okay. And what is,
I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, in terms of what unifies your clients, your ideal clients, and the common themes is they're, I'm assuming, ambitious. They're entrepreneurs, they're small business owners. They want to grow their business, but right now it's feeling hard. They're feeling stuck. It's feeling like maybe they're pushing water up a hill slightly. There's too many things they've got to focus on all at once. And the impact of that is they have less time with their family, which is the number one priority. So this idea of freedom that they're feeling called towards, that they want more of, is ultimately to spend more time, in the way that they choose, right? Have those moments that matter with their family day in, day out. And the way to achieve that ultimately does come down to business growth, right? Because whether it's number one thinking it's profits that they want, or number one thinking it's freedom, the two are totally interrelated, because the more profits you have, the more freedom you have to choose how often, where you work, when you work, with who you work. So that, I think that's very, very linked. I think the end goal and the end why sounds pretty clear in terms of, you know, freedom to spend time with the people that matter most to me. Would that resonate with you?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is what I'm kind of just taking out of what you're sharing. And the really interesting thing is, with regards to the mindset, how many of them come to you and say, I need help with my mindset?
0.
Okay. Okay.
No one acknowledges that, or at least consider, you know what I mean? When you're in the shit, you don't see you're in the shit. You know what I mean? Someone has to point it out to you.
You're just trying to climb out of the shit.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is the key thing, right? So when you have been sharing your message today about how you help people and what you help them with, like whether that's on your podcast or on your social media, typically what are the things that you're saying? What comes up that you're sharing and posting about in terms of your content?
You know, usually what I do, it's more like, you know, ways to improve your health, ways to, you know, tips on how to reduce stress and quiet the noise, you know, those kinds of things, tips on growing business. So it's more that tactical kind of thing.
Okay. And what is the pressing need that your clients have? What do they come to you and say, Jay, I really want to change this, or I really need help with that, or I wish I could do this differently? What is it that always comes up?
Yeah, primarily is, I want to get my business moving ahead. I want it to be more profitable.
Okay.
You know, and then the time issue as well, to the freedom issue.
Okay, awesome. So I want to grow my business, but I don't want to spend more time growing my business, because that's taking time away from my family. So that's leaving me feeling conflicted, because ultimately the whole point of me spending all this time, effort, energy, blood, sweat, and tears is for them. And the huge irony is that actually it's taking me away from them.
Right. Yes.
So it's kind of like the dialogue that you think is playing out.
100%.
So what's really interesting about what you've just said is, because, you know, you talk about this being a family business, it's finance, it's fitness, and what was the third thing? And family was the third?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. So these are ultimately all interlinked, but the number one pressing need that they're feeling is their short-term burning problem to fix right now, that allows them to then prioritize their fitness and self-care, that allows them more time with their family, is ultimately growing their business. So it's that financial need that feels like the most pressing, burning problem, probably keeping them awake at night. It's on a loop in their head, because ultimately that is, you know, the number one thing right now they're feeling called to solve. If they could address that, the other things will fall into place, right? Does that resonate? So the really interesting thing about any type of coaching and consulting is the vast majority of what we're actually delivering to our clients is, of course, mindset work. 100%. But that's not what people buy, unfortunately, because they half the time don't recognize that that's what they need. And we have to always remember that people buy what they want, and we sell them what they want, but we also deliver them what we know they need in order to get what they want. So your methodology, your approach, the incredible work you've been doing to date and that you continue to do, will still heavily involve the mindset piece, but that is not the number one messaging to be promoting to your audience. If the number one thing that they are saying is, I really want to move my business forwards and grow my business so that I can have more profitable income, so that I can have more freedom to spend with my family.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So it feels like if your audience is entrepreneurs and small business owners, and we know the number one pressing need is growing the business, that perhaps is the core of what you offer and the number one thing that you speak to. And then with regards to niching down to men, I mean, I personally think, well, you tell me first, where's your heart and your gut on that front? If it was only up to you.
My gut tells me it's a broader message, and you know, there's as many female entrepreneurs now today than there are male entrepreneurs. So, and they suffer from the same affliction, you
Absolutely.
know, as guys do. Maybe from a relatability standpoint, because I'm not a mother or I'm not, the head of a household and those elements of it. So maybe I'm not seen as someone who understands that aspect of it. And so
Right.
therefore, that's maybe perhaps why more guys listen than gals.
Yeah. And where do you feel you could have a more ownable space in the industry? Niching down to just men or looking at both?
I hate to admit it, but probably niching down to men.
Mm-hmm. And why do you hate to admit it?
Because I see it as bigger, you know what I mean? But I get the whole, the relatability and, walk a mile in my shoe kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never understand, even though I have an incredible role model with my wife and her being a business, and a mother and so on and so forth, but I still can't. I mean, I can appreciate it, but I can't understand it.
Right. Right. So you working with these men specifically and supporting them in this way, how is that then positively impacting their family overall? My cat's just joined us for the.
I see that. What's his or her name?
Belle.
Love it. So the question was, I'm sorry.
So if you were able to really laser focus in and work with these men, these entrepreneurial men, these small business owners, where you feel you totally relate to them, you get it, you've walked in their shoes, they are the part of your audience that you see are attracted to you the most. If you were able to support them in the way that you know how to get them the results that you know that you can support them with, how is that then going to impact their families overall?
What I've been told by other people is that you have what I want. You've got an amazing relationship with your family, your wife. You've got, great health and fitness, and you've been really successful in business. And then how do you make all that work?
Right. How do I get that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely. So how are you therefore actually going bigger, even though you may be focusing down in that sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, making sure that the message is targeted specifically to the people who resonate with me, speaking their language and the issues that they're struggling with.
Which means you're going to have that ripple effect of supporting, men and women in turn, because if you're supporting the man in that relationship and in that part of the business, then ultimately the ripple effect is going to pass over to his partner, his wife, his children, whoever he's with. And ultimately they're all going to benefit from that too. But when we can specifically laser down, it makes it easy for the right people to find us. It makes it easy for you to be the go-to. I want what Jay has. I see myself in Jay, which, as you correctly pointed out, women, although they may be drawn to a lot of, great qualities and characteristics of you and your message, is not quite the same. He gets it.
Right.
So this is actually going to make it so much easier for you to attract more of the right people to you, knowing that in turn, if you can support that individual to be a better version of themselves, everyone around them is going to benefit from that too.
So then with the podcast, am I quote unquote speaking to guys? No, you know what I mean? Like, hey guys, I mean, is it that precise?
So the thing is, we want to have a specific target, but there's going to be other fish that come into the net, So we go fishing for tuna, we might catch something else while we go out there. And that's cool. That's great. I specifically target women, but I work with some amazing male clients. So that's just literally going to be up to you as to, on a case-by-case basis, am I going to support a female business owner as well? Totally your prerogative. It's just going to help with your messaging so that you're not constantly straddling, or how do I resonate with both a male entrepreneur and a female entrepreneur when they have such different concerns? They have such specific needs. So you can welcome everyone into your podcast audience, but it's just that positioning that makes it easy for the ideal clients to find you and for you to carve out an ownable space. And I personally think what I was going to say before, and I just wanted to hear your take on it because I didn't want to influence it. But I personally think there are so many incredible resources these days for female entrepreneurs, and I don't see as many for men. Right? And I think there are so many things that men struggle with that they can't necessarily verbalize in the same way. You know, like they can't necessarily openly admit to their families if they're struggling sometimes, or they've got to be the one that's holding everyone together, or they're the breadwinners in some cases, and there's a lot of pressure that goes on there, and if they don't have an outlet to connect with other people that really get that, they haven't got anyone they feel they can open up to, then that is incredibly stressful. That adds that pressure, that sense of expectation, all of those things. So I think that you providing a community and a space for them to connect with you and with others who really truly get it, but you also to be able to show them there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way to have everything I want without sacrificing more time with my family. That is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's funny too, excuse me, when I started the podcast and I really dialed in, and I lost sight of this. I just realized I lost sight of this, is a 36-year-old entrepreneur named Adam.
Okay.
And that was who my target, listener was.
Yeah.
And I lost sight of that. I went to this, and then I lost the message connection type of thing.
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? We think it's going to be easier to get more clients the broader we go sometimes. Like, well, I want to keep our options open. I don't want to niche down and then I might miss people out. But here's the thing, if you are suffering with a dodgy knee, are you going to go to a GP or are you going to go to the knee specialist?
Right.
If you need help with your resume to get the dream job that you want, are you going to go to, a career coach that helps with all kinds of things? Or are you going to go to the resume writing coach?
Sure.
If you want help to build your YouTube channel, are you going to go to the business coach who works across all kinds of areas? Or are you going to go to the YouTube specialist?
Yes.
It just makes it that no-brainer for someone, right? In the same way that you niching down to the male space and, specifically family men business owners. I think that's just, an incredibly rich territory. You are never going to be without clients, right? How many men want to have that sense of freedom outside of a 9-to-5 so they can spend more time with the family? And the huge irony is they then end up swapping, the 40-hour week for the 80-hour week, because then they get drowned, in all the overwhelm and all the millions of things to do, which you can obviously support them with in terms of finding that balance.
Well, sure. I mean, one of the important aspects is that lack of balance is, what's leading to, driving guys to abusive behaviors and, alcohol and, health issues and 4 times the suicide rate than females, because that sense of overwhelm.
I've just got goosebumps all over my body. So tell me what's coming up for you in reflection of this conversation. What is clearer to you now?
What's clear to me is I need to be targeted in who I'm speaking to. In particular, when it comes to the male entrepreneur and the struggles that they're dealing with, that I've dealt with, I've overcome, I've learned systems and processes and how to make it work. You don't have to be the perfect super dad or super husband or super entrepreneur. You just need to have an idea of how to fit it all together, so you can feel that you're making progress, and you can have joy and happiness, because you can make it all happen.
I love it. How does that feel to you, Jay?
Feels really good, honestly.
Good.
Feels really good. Yeah.
Feel a bit more aligned?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And just having a conversation, talking it out, I think really, clarifies it for me, for sure. And what you said about the ripple effect makes 100%, accurate. And I've thought of that, you know what I mean? It's like, well, if I'm helping guys, I'm helping women anyway. You know what I mean? Right. Like I helped my first mastermind this past weekend, and I had 30 attendees. It was full house, and I probably had 20 guys there and 10 women.
Okay. So I think everything's pointing towards this being the right direction for you.
Yeah.
It's making logical sense, but it's also feeling right from what I'm picking up on for you.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. And I think when I speak to my partner about the impact and the ripple effect is the best way to describe, hey, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're just coming at it from a targeted way.
Right. Right. Which is actually going to make it easier for more people to come your way.
Right.
And not less. I think that's the biggest reframe.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
You are so welcome. So what I'd love for you to take away as a next step is to start just jotting down how you then describe what you do and who you do it for. Mm-hmm. And we can bash that around back and forth as well, if that would be helpful to get someone else's eyes on it. Just so you can feel really clear and confident in your message. It's how you open, podcasts. It's how it's the positioning you have on your social media, so that you're always known as the guy who does this. You're known for the guy who talks about this. And that's how people will seek you out. That's how people will talk about you to others. Women will come across you and they'll tell their partners, their husbands, their friends, their brothers, their colleagues, about you, because it will be so clear, who you help and how.
Perfect.